my name is Kat, and today I'm doing my March wrap-up. So March wasn't exactly an awesome reading month for me. I enjoyed what I read, but I only read 3 books, which isn't even keeping up with my goal of a book a week. So I'm really going to be trying to kick it up a notch in April, and hopefully I can catch up on all of the things. But anyways, let's talk about these 3 books that I read in March. So first up, I have Panic by Lauren Oliver, and this was the Booksplosion Book of the Month read-along pick for March. This is a standalone contemporary novel that takes place in this small, boring town where nothing ever really happens. So the teenagers who live there have created this game known as Panic. Basically, throughout the school year, all of the students pay into this pool of money. And then at the end of the year, the graduating seniors have the chance to compete in these dare-like challenges in order to win the pool of money. This year, the prize is up to $67,000, and we are following 2 main characters who have decided to participate in Panic. First, we have Heather, who joins at the last minute, kind of on a whim, and then we have Dodge, who has been intending to join all year long because he has this secret that is kind of motivating him. This book was super intense and gripping and really commanded my attention. The challenges were super crazy and I loved reading about them. To me, this book kind of gave off a vibe like Fear Factor, the Troubled Teens edition, because while we did see all of these intense challenges, we also got to see a lot of the characters struggling with their home lives and the issues that were kind of motivating them to compete in this crazy game in the first place. What I thought this book did best was with the writing, the intensity, and the imagery. I could picture it all so clearly and it was so gripping. Like, my heart was racing at times and I gasped out loud at times. It was a really fun, thrilling ride. But there were some factors that I felt could have been improved. First, I did have some trouble kind of suspending my disbelief at times, particularly surrounding the mechanics of how exactly this game of Panic is run. Like, who is really in charge of this whole thing, and who is holding on to all of this money that they collect throughout the school year, and how are they making sure the game is fair? Also, while the characters were very interesting and I really enjoyed seeing their stories unfold, I didn't particularly care about them. I didn't dislike them or anything, and I felt sympathy for their situations, but I wasn't like personally attached and invested in their fates. That being said, I did still enjoy this book, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. It's a very gripping and entertaining story with plenty of twists and turns to keep things interesting. If you are looking for a standalone contemporary novel that is very exciting and intense, then I would definitely recommend giving this book a try. And then I read Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas, and oh my goodness, I have just fallen in love with this series. This is the sequel to Throne of Glass, which I really enjoyed, but holy crap, this book just blew that one away. It was fantastic. I'm not going to get into the synopsis of this book because it would spoil the first book, but if you want to hear my thoughts on that first book, I will go ahead and link my wrap-up where I talk about it in the description so you can check that out. But while the first book does have quite a bit of setup and world building, this book just takes that setup and flies with it. It goes to new amazing heights, so high it's out of the frame. Come back. And this book had some plot twists that I never saw coming. Like, I was shocked at some of the things that went down in this book. And I'm just loving how everything is developing, from the story to the world to the characters to their relationships. Let's briefly talk about relationships. Team Dorian, Team Kale, that is the question. And I do not have an answer. I am just too conflicted to choose. And I mean, we have 4 more books coming. Like, everything could change, anything could happen. After the first book, I was leaning more toward Kale for Selena, like long term, but then after this book, I don't know. I still like Kale, but I might be leaning kind of toward Dorian for endgame situation. I don't know. Maybe I'm Team Sam. Which brings me to The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas, the third and final book that I finished in March. This is a bind-up of 5 novellas, but it kind of feels more like a prequel because all of the novellas are loosely connected. We follow Selena for the 6 months or so before she is captured and thrown into the salt mines. We also meet some really interesting and important characters we've only heard mentions of before, like Arabin and Sam. Sam! We meet Sam! Regardless of the romantic conflicts, I think for now I am just firmly Team Selena, especially after reading this book and spending some more time with her. She is on her way to becoming one of my favorite female protagonists of all time. If you enjoy high fantasy and you haven't started the series yet, then you need to get on that. The world and the characters are so well developed, and I have a lot of faith for how the story is progressing. It seems like we're building up to something super grand and epic, and I'm so excited to get there. If you're wondering if the novellas are necessary, I don't think they are at this point, but I do think some of the characters and situations from this book will come into play later on, so you'll want to get to this at some point. Also, this was just a fantastic read overall, so if you're into the series, then yeah, you definitely want to read this. Even though chronologically this does come first, I would still recommend reading Throne of Glass first as kind of your introduction to the series. But after Throne of Glass, you can definitely read the novellas before Crown of Midnight, or you can read Crown of Midnight and then the novellas. I think either way would be fine. As for ratings, I gave Crown of Midnight a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I thought it was fantastic, I loved it, and I gave The Assassin's Blade a 4 out of 5, but I was really unsure on how to rate it because it was a collection of novellas. I did love it and I was leaning toward a 5, but it wasn't as awesome as this book, so I felt like I couldn't rate them the same. This was more fun and adventure-y, and this was more epic grand story, but I did really love both of them. But yeah, that is it. Those are the 3 books I read in March, and that is all I had for this video today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a great night, and I will have another vlog up soon, so I will see you then. Goodbye! How does she hold her weapons? Like behind her? In front of her? That doesn't look right. I almost just slayed my light. You can't see it if I hold it like that. Hwah! Hwah! Do I look like Selena yet? This shit is heavy. I can't even like hold the weapons for an extended period of time. Ow.